Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to our webinar organized by the Hashim Sani Center for Palestine Studies, University Malaya, on the topic of shaping peace, the consequences of ICJ and ICC interventions in Palestine. We all know up to now, since October 7, more than 40,000 Palestinians have been murdered by the Israeli regime. Thousands more are unaccounted for under the rubble. Some estimates say that could be in more than 100,000 altogether. We don't know the real number. But the thing is, the world is not doing anything to stop the genocide that is taking place in Gaza now. We know that the war didn't start on October 7. It started way before, more than 76 years. The settler colonial regime of established by the Zionist movement in the land of Palestine what started, as I said just now, more than 76 years ago. So in other words, the trouble and the injustice is not new. It's been occurring for decades. And the Palestinians have been resisting. In many ways, you have the armed struggle by groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, etc. And recently, or since 2005, is the BDS movement calling the world to boycott Israel and complicit parties. And also through the international law framework. And this afternoon, we are going to focus on the effort by the Palestinians to resist the colonization of their land by international law framework, using the international law framework through the institutions of the ICC and the ICJ. We have been reading a lot about what decisions by the ICJ and the ICC. The ICC recently, under Karim Khan, applied for warrant of arrest of two Israeli leaders, the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister. And we also know of the recent rulings, couple of rulings actually, by the ICJ regarding the genocide in Gaza. But unfortunately, we are witnessing that despite all these rulings by these respected international law or legal institutions, the ICJ, for example, is under the United Nations itself, the highest decision legal body under the UN. And the ICC is also set up by the international community. But despite their rulings, Israel is continuing to commit genocide. So we are therefore wondering whether the interventions by these two institutions are not really having any impact. Is that really true or not? Maybe some of us may have this perception, but if it is not having any impact at all, then why would the Palestinians as well as the international communities continue? Why do they continue to pursue this legal framework? To understand this complex issue, Alhamdulillah, today, this afternoon, we have two experts who are going to explain to us the issue in detail. And we have with us Yang Mulia Tengku Muhammad Fauzi Tengku Abdul Hamid. Welcome to Hashim Sani Center. And also Encik Azril Amin. I will briefly read out their biodata to you for us to know more about them. Tengku Muhammad Fauzi Tengku Abdul Hamid has been in law practice for almost 40 years. Long time, doing mostly corporate and commercial law with some intellectual property law. And he was previously a director of KUBB, or Koperasi Usaha Bersatu, and also was the director of the KUB, and also a company director for Formosa Prosonic Industries. From November 2007 until the present, Tengku has been the chairman of the board for Crawford and Company Malaysia in Berhad. He's also currently the president of the Malaysian branch of the Royal Asiatic Society and a member of the board of governors of the Malaysian Social Research Institute, and most importantly, the vice chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, Suhakam. Our second panelist today is Encik Azil Amin, a dedicated legal professional and human rights advocate. He is a member of the Malaysian Bar since 2000 and also founded the Center for Human Rights Research and Advocacy, Centra, in 2014 and serves as its chairman. He also leads the Institute Masa Depan Malaysia, or MASA, as the CEO. Azil's career encompasses public policy, human rights law, international legal advocacy, and you can see he's very much into human rights. And he is also the Deputy Chief Prosecutor in the Permanent People's Tribunal on Rohingya and other minorities, and also a member of the Malaysian delegation to the International Court of Justice, ICJ, 2024, and he is also part of the My Aksas Foundation's legal team, acting as amicus curiae. I don't know how that pronounced.
Friends of the Court.
Friends of the Court for the International Criminal Court on Palestine. And he is also head of the investigative legal team for the Centra ICC Palestine Legal Mission, focusing on documenting evidence of genocide in Palestine. So as you can see, we have two experts who can really talk about the topic. And without further ado, I want to invite Tengku to explain to us the consequences of the ICJ interventions. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Prof. Nazari, for your kind words. Thank you for having me here today. And I must say that I am not really an expert, but you know, I can speak to my own experience regarding my awareness of the issues involved of the topic, relating to the topic today. My discussion would mainly be on the ICJ, and also, you know, the role of SACAM, what our policies are, as well as what our hopes are for the future in relation to the topic we have today, which is shaping peace, the consequences of the ICJ and ICC interventions in Palestine. So I think without further ado, I think we better move to the slides which I have prepared.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is the title, Shaping Peace, the Consequences of ICJ and ICC Interventions in Palestine. Okay, general impressions. The issues regarding Israel's disproportionate aggression on the Palestinian population of Gaza, with about 40,000 Palestinians killed to date, even more than that, I suppose now, with about half of whom are children, are already well known. The possibility of genocide being perpetrated by Israel under the Genocide Convention of 1948, as propounded by ICJ's two provisional judgments on January 26, 2024 and May 24, 2024 in the case of South Africa against Israel, which is indeed a real issue on the ground, which I think is not a joking matter. I mean, the cruelty, the killings are all real, and it looks to me they're also intentional. These judgments, the two provisional judgments, address the serious allegations of genocide and aim to safeguard human rights in the context of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Okay, we move next to the next slide. Okay, I think we need to clarify or know the difference between the ICJ and ICC. ICJ stands for International Court of Justice, and ICC stands for International Criminal Court. Both are United Nations organs. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, is the primary judicial organ of the United Nations, founded in 1945, to resolve dispute between states based on international law. It is also known as the World Court. Whereas unlike the ICJ, the International Criminal Court, ICC, does not adjudicate cases involving individuals, and its decisions do not lead to criminal verdicts or imprisonment of individuals, whereas ICC does. Okay, the judgment of ICJ represents a pivotal moment in our collective efforts to uphold human rights and international law, emphasizing justice, accountability, and the protection of civilians in conflict zones. It is the inalienable right of Palestinians that is reflected in the ICJ's decisions. So we move to the next slide. Okay. Well, it seems that it's very clear that Israel is breaching the Genocide Convention. The decisions of the ICJ are binding on signatory states, which include Israel. This is a matter of universal international law to which states are entitled, for example, to a cessation of hostilities and reparations. As Prof. Nazari stated earlier, these decisions, although made by the ICJ, is still not followed or accommodated by Israel, and Israel still continue to act with impunity for obvious reasons, of course, with the support of the US and, of course, the European countries, especially UK, France, and Germany. So this is also a concept of wrongfulness on the part of Israel's action, because by its very nature, the wrongfulness is embedded in international law. So in that sense, Palestine has a direct interest in entertaining, in the ICJ has, an interest to entertain the Palestinians' interests. But the perceived double standards in the ICJ's deliberations, there is this perception that because of the slowness and so on, they took quite some time to come with the two provisional judgments. But this is argued by some legal experts that, because the rights of the Palestinians are not automatic under international law. Okay, now we come to the key interventions. Article 63 of the ICJ statute states that states have the right to intervene within the general meaning of this definition under the Genocide Convention. For example, the intervention by Colombia, Spain, and Mexico, Bangladesh, and Ireland have expressed their intention to intervene in this, ICJ South African initiated case. But I think they have not come forward yet. They have just indicated their interest to participate. Two key grounds of interventions. The first one, support on a general jurisdiction basis, and this is where it is said that a jurisprudential Rubicon has been crossed insofar as the ICJ decision in relation to the background of the decision could be seen. And we go back to the case of the Gambia versus Myanmar. And that is where it is stated that a jurisprudential Rubicon has been crossed. this goes back to the time of the Roman time, Julius Caesar. When during one of the battles, he sort of made a decision to attack and cross the river. What we call the Rubicon, and the consequences of which is that there is no turning back for him. So there will be civil war. He knows that, but he made that decision to nevertheless cross the Rubicon. So the expression crossing the Rubicon is being used until today, which means that once you make that kind of decision, you can never return back to the original position. So this is where background to this, the decision of the ICJ in the Gambia versus Myanmar reflects that. It reflects in the sense that for the first time, uh, more than one country is to interfere uh, on the case against Myanmar, and in terms of states, normally is this one state only which would bring the case to defend its own citizen, but here another state, two states came to defend citizens of other states.
Okay.
So this is what is meant by crossing the jurisprudential Rubicon. So in that sense, in so far as ICC is concerned, I think I've not. I think we go back to the.
Okay.
Okay, we are still on the ICJ's, decision on the key interventions. I mentioned the first one, crossing the jurisprudential Rubicon. The second ground is by linking an advanced legal meaning to the word intent to Israel's actions. That is to say, whether Israel's actions have genocidal intent as against self-defense, as argued by Israel and its allies, or putting it the other way around, or whether self-defense is Israel's intent. So cases in point here is we have two cases of Krauscher against Serbia, and Serbia and Bosnia-Herzegovina versus Serbia and Montenegro. Now to this, is that, oh, this is
ICC.
Yeah, we are now on, but I think I'm missing something here. Never mind. Okay. So to come back to the two cases of Bosnia-Herzegovina just now and Croatia versus Serbia, the ICJ considered a few terminologies, for example, intent, even what we call influence, influence of intent and connection and terms like that. And so meaning the ICJ is considering wider factors to bring out the liability or guilt of the states of Serbia and also Montenegro during the Serbian wars, in the 1990s. So the wider the meaning of the deliberations to intent, the wider the meaning, more expression being used, the better it will be for to find or to nail down liability. So let's hope that the ICJ from now onward, even in this case of South Africa against Israel, will deliberate on the same sort of considerations. I think with that, I better move to.
Thank you, Tengku.
Okay.
Before we go to Azrael to discuss about ICC, I want to just ask a few questions about the ICJ. When I followed the case, the decisions by the ICJ talk something about the possibility of genocide in Gaza. They didn't actually say outright. that there is genocide going on, they just say that Israel must stop actions that can lead to genocide. So in other words, they were not willing to be very more decisive, in saying. I don't know. I don't understand why they were very reluctant to say that. Recently, the last decision was about, I think ICJ was discussing about West Bank and the occupied territories and etc. And then they also the one that method was asking Israel to stop the killings or military operation in
provisional measures.
in Rafah. So they simply said they must stop attacking, but again they didn't decide that there's genocide taking place. So that actually, for me, I think many people were disappointed with the ICJ for not being brave enough to declare, because for more than 40,000 people have been killed, more than that, and continuing to kill, and you simply say there is a possibility of genocide. So is there any legal reason for that, for the ICJ to be so?
Well, I think, Professor, the two decisions were provisional decisions,
Okay.
and that implies that they have not looked into the entirety of the case yet.
Not yet.
Evidence
Okay.
have not been heard, that kind of
Okay.
thing. So that's why they're making that kind of decision. But I suspect, they don't want to take a more aggressive approach, because I think they are still sort of beholden to the Western powers, the power equation.
Okay.
And they don't want to be seen to be too fast
Okay.
to come to the actual decision. But let's hope that, as I have stated earlier, that when they deliberate, they would use the wider definition of intent to infer, guilt on the part of Israel. Let's hope so.
Okay, so we can hope so in the future. In the meantime, they are not able to stop. In other words, they are not able to stop. In any case, ICJ do not have the enforcement mechanism anyway, right? Because eventually you need the United Nations Security Council to approve any action, right?
Exactly.
And they simply make a decision, and United Nations Security Council UNSC has got to decide about the situation, also what to do, and that's yet to come.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go next to the topic of ICC, and which Encik Azril is going to be explaining to us the recent interventions of the ICC and their consequences. So the floor is yours. Can I have the microphone? Okay, Azril, go ahead.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Very good afternoon to Professor Nazari and also Yang Mulia Tengku Fauzi. First and foremost, thank you to the Hashim Sani Center for Palestine Studies for this kind invitation to have me at this very important forum. And I've from the very beginning, at the start of when I first received the invitation, I requested that Tengku Fauzi focus on ICJ, because I'm not to say that I'm not so familiar with the cases. I went to The Hague and also assisted Wisma Putra in its intervention. But most importantly, I just want to focus on the recent developments in ICC. And perhaps it's very important these days, because the world community is actually anxiously waiting the outcome of the deliberation by the OTP, or Office of the Prosecutor, and also the pre-trial chamber. They are currently deliberating on whether or not to issue the warrant of arrest against those named in the charges. But perhaps I can, for the benefit of the audience, I think I will first and foremost give a little bit of introduction to ICC. As mentioned by Tengku Fauzi, I mentioned ICC is a permanent international tribunal court established in 2002 by virtue of Rome Statute. Malaysia did actually ratify Rome Statute for a while and for a short while, and then we decided to withdraw for some obvious reasons. But ICC, the aim is different from ICJ, because ICJ is an interstate tribunal. But ICC, it aims to prosecute individuals. You can't prosecute state, but you can prosecute individuals for the most serious offenses of international concern, which is genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crime of aggression. These 4 very specific crimes. It is known also in international law as atrocity crimes. Yeah, it's called atrocity crimes. And for the purpose of this presentation today, I will highlight some key events and legal provisions, charges, and the next procedural steps. A bit of timeline of key events since 2015. We know that Palestine decided to join or ratify the Rome Statute on January 2, 2015. The instrument was deposited with Rome Statute on this January 7, 2015. And they officially joined Rome Statute as a foundational treaty of the ICC. And this is a very significant achievement in terms of international law for not only for ICC, but also for Palestine's quest for justice for its citizens and accountability of offenses committed within its borders. So I actually, in a way, when we were also part of the lobbying process for the Palestinians to join the ICC, it actually not only, I think the most important is the quest for justice for the people. But I think technically and legally, if you look at it, the fact that Palestine was admitted as a member state of the ICC, that has already recognized it as a state for the purpose of ICC. So this is very important, and by ratifying the statute, Palestine actually conferred jurisdiction to ICC over crimes occurring in its territory, and this shows that Palestine has its own sovereignty. That is number one, the most important recognition that we were looking for, and also the Palestine's accession to this ICC activated Article 14. Allowing it to present situations to the ICC prosecutor where it believes crimes within the court jurisdiction have been committed. So as early as January 2015, Palestine had referred its situation to the ICC prosecutor, laying the groundwork for future investigations and legal proceedings, and that is what has happened. And it took about 6 years after Palestine's accession to the Rome Statute, to the ICC. It became a member in 2015. I think only after 6 years that ICC commenced its investigation.
Under Bensouda?
Under Fatou Bensouda. It was Prosecutor Fatou Bensouda who actually initially, she was the first to announce that, we will commence investigation. The previous prosecution, they tried, but I think somehow because of political pressure or because of the length of the investigation, perhaps they did not have the will, to actually announce it. So Fatou Bensouda made a historic thing to actually announce this investigation was about to begin. And it so happened after 2 years, the October 7th escalation, the clashes between Israeli forces and Hamas escalated dramatically, leading to increased violence. And we know that so far, I think until today, it's about 43,000 official numbers of those who have died. That does not include those who have actually could not be found.
Okay. Pause here. So actually, Fatou Bensouda was doing investigation regarding the crime committed previously, 2014.
Up to 2004, starting from 2014,
right? The bombing of Gaza.
Yeah.
But do they include the crimes in the West Bank or not? this investigation by Fatu Bensouda?
Yes, it includes, because
Includes that as well.
yeah, I will show you the on the jurisdiction issues.
Okay, go ahead, please.
It's just that I think previous to 2014, there is still way, I mean, for countries to bring the crimes like Nakba, by way of I've always advocated the use of Article 377, Uniting for Peace, where you can actually avoid bringing a resolution for the approval of the UN Security Council, but you go straight to the UNGA.
Okay.
Go for a tribunal. What had happened to Yugoslavia, and they had this crime. And in fact, we still have living witnesses, such as Dr. Ang Si Chai, was a living witness of the Shabra Shatila, for example.
Okay.
So those are the I think the issues that we can still work on without relying to ICC, because ICC is limited by virtue of Palestine's accession on 2015. They can only bring after 2014. Okay, and another significant event is May 2024, where the arrest warrant applications were made by prosecution by the Office of the Prosecutor. Karim Khan submitted applications for arrest warrant against several high-profile individuals: Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and also some senior Hamas leaders, Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad Deif, and Sumaya Haniyeh. And you will see, which I will show in a short while, the reluctance of ICC even to use the word genocide. At least in ICJ, they mentioned the word genocide, the possibility of genocide, but in ICC, they avoided that all. Totally avoided the word genocide. I don't know why, because maybe, I don't know.
But they can, actually, they can.
They can and they should. I mean, it's already proven. If, let's say, ICJ has already used the term genocide and has ruled that there is a possibility of genocide happening, then it should carry some weight for those who are bringing the case to ICC. And the most recent development is this is now a critical stage. As I have started, and now the world is waiting for the pre-trial chamber to decide whether or not to issue the warrant of arrest. What is taking time? Well, we have to ask Karim Khan what is happening.
I think only a few days ago, I think he issued another request for the pre-trial chamber to speed up the decision.
Perhaps, we don't know, because there was an attempt actually by United Kingdom to challenge the question of jurisdiction.
The previous government, I think, under
but I think that should not be an issue, because there was already a decision by ICC in February 2021, recognizing that they have jurisdiction over the three territories: the West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza. Okay. Okay, we know that, and these are the charges against Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and Yoav Gallant. They have listed following war crimes and crimes against humanity. No genocide used. The term is genocide not used. At least from 8 October, the starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, as a war crime, contrary to Article 8(2)(b) of the statute. A starvation of civilians, they have a very special term. It's called Holodomor. Holodomor is what I think Russia did last time. Willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or health. Willful killing, intentionally directing attacks against the civilian population as a war crime. Extermination and murder, contrary to Article 7(1)(b). Persecution as a crime against humanity, and other inhumane acts as crime. Actually, Israel has committed more than all these crimes, but this is what is within the jurisdiction of the ICC, what they can actually try under the war crimes and crimes against humanity, and they have deliberately, or I don't know, unintentionally decided not to include the word genocide, maybe because they don't want the list to be longer on the part of Israel. I don't know. And also there are charges against Yahya Sinwar, Mohammad Ibrahim, and Shahid Ismail Haniyeh. They have listed the following war crimes and crimes against humanity. If you compare the previous slides, there are 7 charges against Benjamin and Yoav Gallant, but there are 8 charges against.
More charges.
So you can see at that point, even at this point, at the point of application for warrant of arrest, there is already biasness.
Bias, yeah.
So I think, and the fact that this happens, not quite very far from when the ruling of ICJ was issued, the provisional measures were issued. So actually, I don't know how they have arrived to this decision to put 8 charges as opposed to 7 charges against the Israeli.
And 3 Hamas officials, only 2 Israeli.
Correct. Yeah.
So
There should
that
be
is a
more.
bit unbalanced.
So
No military officers from or generals from Israel has been
no
charged.
generals, no top military officials from Israel. But in fact, I think Karim Khan did not go to. Did he go to Gaza? He went.
He didn't go.
He said he went to Israel, but he did not go to Gaza and to see for himself. I mean, the way that his statement was crafted, for sure. I said, "Oh, I was surprised with what happened in Gaza, in Israel." But when it comes to, he only met President Mahmoud Abbas, and I think visited several places.
He went to Rafah on the Egyptian border.
Yeah. So, well, you can see. But it's fair enough that now he's asking for issuance of the warrant of arrest. Okay. And this is the most important statement by the court. The question of whether West Bank is also, being included. So the ICC has affirmed during the pre-trial chamber decision on the February 5th, 2021. They have decided that and they affirmed that the court's territorial jurisdiction in the situation in Palestine extends to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967, in fact earlier than 2014, specifically Gaza and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. So that's very clear. Again, I must emphasize that it's not only about the crimes committed in these territories, but also the fact that when it is recognized as Palestinian territories, then Palestine is actually a sovereign country. So you cannot deny that. This is written and this is decided by the ICC. These are the legal provisions in the room cited, the relevant ones. The one that I mentioned, Article 7, crimes against humanity, and also Article 8 on war crimes. Unfortunately, genocide is not included. So again, I think there is a room and a channel which our team is doing now. At the moment, we are trying to prove to the court, and in fact, we have filed a request for to become an amicus curiae again, so that the ICC, the Office of the Prosecutor, will actually add the charges to include also genocide. This is what we are trying to prove, but it's quite difficult, but we are doing it now. And next steps in the ICC procedures, we are here. On the left side is to see the pre-trial chamber review of applications. The pre-trial chamber of the ICC will review the applications for arrest warrants, assessing the sufficiency of evidence and the legal basis for the charges. After 2015, 2021, the investigation started, and now it's 2024. So that is how many years? About almost 10 years. Almost 10 years. Well, some friends have been asking me, aren't you tired of this? Because you see, it has been 10 years and nothing is happening. Well, they have suffered for over 70 years, almost 80 years. But we are only doing it, and we are not even picking up any guns, to fight the Israelis. But what we are doing, the legal aspect of it, in fact, we see that we are also, this is on top of the BDS campaign and also the humanitarian campaign. This is only one small aspect of the bigger campaign that we are doing in order to free the Palestinians. And after the issuance of the arrest warrants, of course, there will be many factors, political, and also a lot of investigations will be undertaken by the ICC.
Okay, so if I may ask for a pause here. So we are under pre-trial chamber review because the Karim Khan is requesting a warrant of arrest to some judges, right?
The judges are
who are these judges at the ICC?
I'm not sure. I don't have the information.
I don't.
Yeah. But I think normally there will be about 3 judges for this pre-trial chamber. Is like not the full, or not the full bench lah. So they are reviewing the applications.
So people are worried in case these judges can be influenced by America and by all these Western powers.
Well, I can't say.
You can't
I
say.
don't-
No comment on that.
Yeah, because we don't know who are the judges. Could be anyone, but I think they have their own process of appointing the responsible judges.
Okay.
Okay. And the decision, if the chamber finds the evidence compelling, it will issue arrest warrants for the accused individuals. So the evidence must be really, really compelling. Then the
Okay.
judge must be really convinced at first to issue the warrant of arrest. There will be ongoing investigations and trial proceedings that will take time. There will be maybe 5 to 7 years or 10 years. We don't know, but we just hope that it will be done in a speedy manner. Okay, and these are some of the international law and human rights provisions. I just want to go through. Key challenges: state cooperation, impartiality, and independence. The one that you mentioned, you do know who the judges are. State cooperation also difficult because we have actually 124 states which have ratified the ICC. So okay, if let's say the warrant of arrest is issued against Benjamin Netanyahu, he cannot go to any of these 124 states because he is exposed to the risk of being detained.
The countries are obligated to arrest him.
Yeah, they are obligated, and also they have the power to arrest. Like Malaysia, if he comes to Malaysia, he'll be safe. He won't be arrested because Malaysia is not a member of ICC.
Oh, okay.
But maybe we will go after him in a different manner.
Okay.
Okay, but state
But
cooperation.
all the European states actually are members, and he can't go to any of the European states, I suppose.
Those who have ratified, difficult for him. So that's a risk for him. And the consequence, even if at the stage of issuance of warrants of arrest, I mean, he has I think domestic pressure. Forget me from his own country, from the opposition, for example.
Okay.
So he will be questioned why he is regarded as a suspect, as a murder suspect, as a war crime suspect. So that will be putting some pressure on Netanyahu. Impartiality and independence, and also humanitarian impact. We hope that because there is already provisional measure. In fact, there have been twice. The ICJ has issued twice the provisional measure asking Israel to stop, but they ignore it. So what should be done actually is that's why I was a bit frustrated that Malaysia decided not to intervene. If Malaysia had intervened, then we could have brought this ICJ, the provisional measure. We can bring it to the UN General Assembly, get military intervention through 377. That is my interpretation. I think that is what I think. And in fact, I think one of the Professor Richard Falk or Francis Boyle, I'm not sure, one of the legal scholars actually mentioned this. We can invoke Article 377, bring this as the provisional measure as a basis for a resolution at the United Nations General Assembly, get them to issue a resolution.
I thought any military intervention is
at least a peacekeeping
Security Council.
That's where 377 can. If UNSC fails, if they vetoed, we can actually invoke 377.
Okay.
That can be done. That is my interpretation. I don't know, maybe some scholars could differ with me, but in the best of my knowledge, I think that we can do it. And then our work, I think just quickly, we have lobbied since 2015 on the 2334 on the illegal occupation, illegal building of wall and illegal occupation. And this is actually one of our volunteers in I think in one of the camps in Gaza. One of our contact persons in Gaza, Al-Nakhil Street, is an Al-Nakhil Street with the children. So she is actually voluntarily teaching the children who have lost their houses and residence. And we also receive information, and so video recording from some of our friends there. Okay. I think This one is just about our work, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But okay, this one, these are the 5 areas which we are currently focusing. And we have so far managed to interview about 15 victims through either through video or through our own physical visit at the border. A victim's testimony, and we are trying to craft it so that we can go for genocide instead of just war crimes and crimes against humanity. Mass killing is in Sujaiyah. We have some witnesses. During Operation Protective Edge, the Sujaiyah neighborhood in Gaza was subjected to intense bombardment, resulting in the deaths of over 100 civilians. So these are the things that I can't show the video because we are keeping it for ICC use later when we file it. Systematic demolition of Silwan, East Jerusalem, torture in Israel detention centers, those who have survived and managed to come out. We have secured at least 1 or 2 victims to get their witness statements. Systematic demolition in Silwan, East Jerusalem, and also targeting medical personnel, including Al-Wafa Hospital, this one.
So this is in preparation for the
another
for
filing.
the,
Actually we are pressuring the ICC, the OTPs, and the judges so that they speed up on their decision on the warrant of arrest, and also they include genocide as another aspect.
So when they're arrested, then there will be a trial, and this is where you bring in the evidence.
Yeah, if the ICC wants them to come as witness, then where we will have to make the arrangements. I mean, the ICC will make the arrangement. We are just liaising with the ICC. Okay, we need your support to continue this fight. There's one article that I have written about unaddressed edusite now. This is one aspect which I think we can use also UNESCO, put some pressure on UNESCO, because edusite, and Malaysia can do this because the destruction of universities, the destruction of schools, where we have a lost generation. There are children who have been denied. Even I've adopted one child, one girl, 5 years old, Nur Al-Huda. She is 5 years old and she couldn't attend school. So she has
in Gaza.
She's in Gaza now. Yeah, she through my contact there. So edusite is also an issue. Holodomor just now, the salvation. Edusite as well as
the edusite is a specific crime, or is it there's another one called scholasticide or something? Edusite is the term used as a legal term, or is it
it's a term used among the international law scholars? Edusite.
All right.
So again, we need your support to continue this fight, because this is done on a pro bono basis by our group of lawyers and human rights activists. So please do contribute if anything can be of help. Maybe that's a bit of my presentation.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
After this, I'll go back to Tengku, but before we go back to Tengku, I just want to ask Azril again.
Yeah.
I read the report that the United States are very angry at the politicians anyway, some of the leaders, especially from the Republican parties, threatening the ICC, saying that you come to the US, we will arrest you. They are threatening to arrest Karim Khan and some other, I think, members of the council who advised the ICC. I think before Karim Khan issued the arrest, he consulted some scholars. So they were also being threatened by the United States politicians, the Republican Party, saying that we will arrest you. So if the United States, which is the most powerful country in the world, is threatening the ICC, is ICC going to be able to do anything much if you have the member of the Security Council saying, basically attacking the ICC? Any comment on that?
Well, I think the United States has to remember that it's them against 124 countries. They are not against only the Karim Khan, not only the prosecutor, but it's against. It is a proper. It's a proper institution by way of the establishment of a Rome Statute. Okay. So if you want to talk about rule of law, you have to talk about respect for democracy, and if you want to be a civilized country, I think that is something that should not be done.
Okay.
So for me, it's just a threat. But I think Karim Khan has already responded, saying that nobody will ever make us afraid of what we are doing. And I think it's quite ridiculous. The statement made was, I think they want to impose sanction on the individuals working for the court, which is I think is how are they going to do it? I mean, are you going to ban, because you're talking about freedom of movement in your own country, freedom of speech, and yet you're imposing something which is unreasonable. So I think they will not be, I mean, threatened. I mean, they don't feel threatened, even though it sounds big, but perhaps I think one day, I think it will go back against them. Yeah.
Tengku, you want to add anything to what has been?
I think the idea of ICC, arrest warrant and so on, which is not yet issued, by the way, but if issued, it will sort of advance the case. It will advance the case against, the two, even the ICJ case, even the ICJ case will be moved forward if arrest warrants have been issued. So the better it will be. Also, ICC has got linked to the Security Council. It's different from ICJ.
Okay.
So once the ICC has made a decision, it will be sanctioned by the Security Council in a way.
On the condition that America, the United States supports it.
Exactly.
Because United Nations is the one that.
Because when you talk about individual sanctions against individuals, the UN, the Security Council's sanction, it's just like a death sentence, bro, I was told. Because it will affect the whole family. You cannot travel, there will be restrictions against your family.
Yeah.
It will affect your children's education, your uncles, your cousins, children's education. It's very wide, the sanctions. And this one we were told by the Security Council's ombudsperson himself, our ex-Chief Justice Richard Malanjur.
Okay.
Richard Malanjur.
Okay.
He mentioned about the wide-scale impacts of the Security Council's sanction. And I think if US, as you said, if US sanction, which is unlikely, of course, I feel, my personal view is not going to be likely. But if ever there is the Security Council's sanction against these individuals like Netanyahu and his defense minister, I think it will be very deep and wide-ranging.
So, but the point is, we need there must be a change in the United States attitude and policy towards the issue then, because without the United States on the side of ICC, then the ICC becomes toothless then, sort of, right? So there must be a process of change within the US itself before we can see anything meaningful from both the ICJ and the ICC.
US, well, I think there are events of change happening now in the US, but it's not going to be overnight, Bob, I think. It's going to take a bit of time. But if I may return to the slides, I just move very quickly.
Yeah, Mustafa, can you help the slides?
Okay, very quickly, the background to the Gambia of the Myanmar, as you can see on the screen there. There are a few countries which joined this case in November 15, 2023, like Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, the Netherlands, and there are 5 countries actually. So that's the thing. So let me just move very quickly through. Talking about the definition, terms such as reasonable inference, non-partisan, and also, pattern, scale, words like that. Hopefully in the case of South Africa against Israel, the ICJ would look into all this, wider definition of to link it to genocide. Let's hope so, because not just intent, so
Okay.
that the chances of having liability against Israel is better. So that's the argument. So let's move very quickly. Okay, I think there's no need already. In Palestine, well, as I said, the ICC arrest warrant are significant if issued, but we don't know whether it will be issued or not.
Depending on the judges again.
Yeah. So there are lots of,
Still, things still up in the air.
yeah, it's not as straightforward as it should be. So, okay, this is my view about the inclusion of Yahya Sinwar as part of the arrest warrant, because I would say, Yahya Sinwar, he's on the side of the oppressed, and he is sort of fighting, in one sense, a just war.
Yeah.
And, he's not the occupier, in fact, the occupied.
Yeah.
So I don't know why Karim Khan put his name there. One argument is that, Yahya Sinwar should not, because he's fighting for the occupied.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
fighting that war. So putting him is not really appropriate. I think it's just to satisfy the US and the European allies, I think, most likely. Yeah. And okay, I think implication for the future will include enforcement of international law, accountability and justice very quickly, humanitarian relief and reconstruction, and also admission of Palestine as a member of the UN. I think this is viable, in my personal opinion, to fight for Palestine to be a member of the UN. And I think this could go through the General Assembly, not to the Security Council, if there are enough countries supporting this, I think. And of course, possibility of deploying peacekeepers in Palestine. So, well, here are the few approaches for the future: diplomatic engagement, strengthening multilateral cooperation, advocacy, and public awareness. I think these are cliches. I think it's been too frequently used. It's, this headers, so to speak. I mean, we all know that, it's not of much use, it's not really effective,
Okay.
Moving forward. Sarkam's role, we are trying to stimulate awareness on Palestine, and the killings that is happening in Gaza right now, even in the West Bank. So, it's important that we should organize programs to bring about awareness. I think which we did through one forum which we did here in University of Malaysia.
Maybe while you're talking about that,
Mm.
there's a question from one of the viewers. I have a question to Tuku Muhammad Tengku.
Yes.
What role do you think Suhakam can play in advocating for Palestinian rights in international forums like the ICJ ICC? So that's what can Suhakam?
Well, you must understand that SOACAM has got, under its act, it has got secondary powers, So the function under the act is to advise the primary agencies like the government departments, for example, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, for example, even the Home Ministry, when it comes to immigration, refugees, and all that. So SOACAM can just meet the agencies to persuade them, hey, come on, please, we have these complaints, we have these grounds to help the Palestinians and so on. Can you please look into the policies, current policies, and improve them, and be firm about that and be more aggressive, things like that, which I made in my recent press conference. We already made. What shall I say? persuading the government to be more forthright and more.
So you still need to work through the foreign ministry
Yeah,
of Malaysia.
that's not to say unfortunate, but there is some positive role there. But it's not direct. It's an indirect sort of help. If I may put it that way.
Okay.
But we'll do our role. We play. And Sarakam has played its role on Palestine quite aggressively, insofar as awareness programs and so on. We have even made several press statements already since October 7.
Okay. There's a question for Azril. Brother Azril, what strategy can you read it? What strategies does Central recommend?
The ICJ and that him that, it is very very tough question. I think I think it's not for Central to. I mean, we can recommend, but it's for the world governments to actually make sure. In the context of ICJ, all of the UN member states can actually participate in ensuring that. Well, now it's only provisional measures, and we see that most of the governments have failed in ensuring that the provisional measures are being effectively implemented. I mean, Israel has continued to kill, even though there have been provisional measures. So I think first thing first, they have to use whatever power that they have at the international level, at the UN forum, to ensure that Israel complies with the provisional measures. I think that's for the head of states to do, and we can inform the government. We can advise the government. Government should use your power, voice out United Nations.
So the most important is what Central can do is to convince the government of Malaysia to be louder and more.
I think as a bloc, maybe OIC or ASEAN
at the UNGA
or NAM, non-aligned movement, because Malaysia is going to assume the ASEAN championship next year. So I think Palestine should be on the agenda, because we have Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, some of the Muslim states, and we want to see actually more action from OIC. I mean, we know that it's South Africa that is taking the action, and none of the Muslim countries have come forward to actually make sure that we get the provisional measures were obtained by South Africa. So this is a big slap on our faces.
The Muslim countries.
And as for ICC, what we are doing is the process. I mean, let the process move forward in terms of. We are hoping that the warrant of arrest will be issued very soon this year, perhaps, and then there are 124 countries that can enforce that and make sure that Netanyahu is being detained and brought forward to trial. Other than that, we are a very small NGO. I think Hashim Sani is bigger than us. The Hashim Sani Center is bigger than us. So I think what we can do is to continue with our lobbying and also making noise at various forums internationally.
So at the moment, are you, as far as the Malaysian government is concerned, at the UNGA, can Malaysia do more or not in terms of?
Malaysia can do more, and they should do more. That's why I think I was a bit. I had a bit of reservation. Well, people will question my love and my compassion for the Palestinians, but I think the recent move by the government in bringing in 100 over Palestinians, it was a good move, very noble, commendable move. But I think number one, please also look at those who are languishing in the detention centers in Malaysia. There are some Palestinians, I understand. I mean, in fact, some of them have came forward to me and asked for them to be assisted. Number two, I think in terms of financial resources, for example, it can be challenging also to assist some of the legal strategies that we are trying to work on now. In terms of getting the victims, in terms of getting to interview and also to collect the evidence and also to file, put some pressure. Of course, Malaysia as a state, as a government, we do not involve in ICC because ICC is an individual thing. But Malaysia can do more. In fact, Malaysia should withdraw its reservations in the Genocide Convention and apply to intervene in the South Africa versus Israel case, ICJ. That's the least that Malaysia can do.
Okay.
I mean, and then there's no harm. I mean, we are already known for our very strong stand against Israel. So why not, join Nicaragua and join some other state? Even Turkey is doing it. So why not, Malaysia?
So Malaysia should withdraw the reservation.
Yeah,
like
withdraw
rest
the
of
reservation
ICJ
and file an intervention.
by intervention.
I will stand clear.
There's the last question here for Azri.
Yeah.
What can you can read it?
Thanks for the insightful answer. My last question, brother. How do you think the ICJ intervention have impacted the global human rights movement? This is also a very broad question. ICJ maybe is as long as the United Nations, but ICC has been in existence not for so long. So I think it's yet. I think there have been criticisms where ICC has been very biased against African nations. But I think with the recent developments, especially when they decided the ICC prosecution decided to apply for the warrant of arrest against Israel. So I think this is a good development, which I think it has impacted, as mentioned by Tengku Fauzi just now. In terms of for me, it's more of a deterring future crimes. That is the real and immediate impact.
Yeah.
To show that you cannot just simply want to commit any crimes and get away with it.
Yeah, I understand that. I read a report that Benjamin Netanyahu is really obsessed with the ICC case.
He is under tremendous pressure.
under-
In fact, like I said, domestically, he's really under pressure. Because
Yeah.
if once the warrant of arrest is issued against him, that doesn't look good for him politically.
Politically inside the country.
Yeah.
Plus, if he goes to Europe, he has got this.
Correct.
The risk of him being arrested is quite real.
Yeah.
So, in other words, at the end, even though many people are very skeptical and with the ICC and the ICJ in the light of the ongoing genocide, but it is still an avenue that should be pursued by Palestinian.
Unless and until we can come up with a new institution, a more effective institution. But I think at the moment, we have to do what you have.
Okay, even though you
ICC and
cannot get
ICJ.
the ideal situation, you still have.
It's not ideal, but it may not happen even during our lifetime. The rest, but at least we are trying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to our panelists, invite Cik Azri and Tunku for coming over here to explain to us all. I personally have learned a lot. I'm sure people in the audience have also learned a lot from your explanation. We look forward to actual actions being taken by this institution. Hopefully, what is happening will at least slow down the killings and the genocide in Gaza, if not stop it. We are hoping that it will stop completely, but it doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. But hopefully, all these efforts will help to create some kind of fear and worry among the Israeli leaders and military officers, and hopefully that can stop the killing. Inshallah ta'ala.
Okay.
Thank you again to both of you.
Yeah.
And thank you to our participants in the audience for joining us. And we look forward to more webinar in the future.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon.